What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and usually us four would be doing something else on a Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, but we're not. We're without Eric Bischoff, but George Hermoza, Steve Kaufmann, and Christy Olson have joined me on my channel to talk about wrestle stuff. But before we begin, just kind of a somber note. Our condolences to the Nash family over the loss of their son Tristan. It's an unimaginable grief, so we extend our condolences before we get kicked off here tonight. But my goodness, this has been a kind of an eventful week in pro wrestling. We're kind of on the tail end of the Bray Wyatt promo, the Smackdown promo. First off, how do you guys feel that they didn't debut him right after Extreme Rules on the flagship show Raw and saved him for SmackDown? George,
who said Raw is the flagship show?
Okay.
SmackDown is the flagship show because it is on Fox. More people have eyes on Fox than they have USA. So I need you to re-say that statement now that you know that Raw is not the flagship show.
Okay, flagship usually refers to like the initial show, the original show, the one that started it all, which definitely still applies to Raw. But I get what you're saying, George. SmackDown is where it's at.
I'm just talking about the calendar when I say they should have done it on Raw. Because they have the debut main event, like be the last thing, send them home happy Saturday night, and then you make them wait 6 whole days to run that promo on SmackDown. That's why I think it should be on Raw, and it has absolutely nothing to do with which show is bigger or better, because the broader trend, if you really look at it, both shows do about the same.
But isn't
as it pertains to a television show, like 3 million and 2 million is the same.
Imagine living in a world where you enjoy pro wrestling and they give you everything that you ever.
Uh-oh.
Okay, good. He's out for all of us. I was worried.
Okay.
I was worried. He's like, is this my connection?
Yeah.
I run a lot on my connection. This is.
I thought it was me too.
Really good at that freeze game, G Herm.
Yeah.
I wonder what he was gonna say.
He's probably still saying it, knowing George.
I would hope he knows. Okay.
There you go.
Hi, you're back with us, G Herm.
When did I get cut off?
At the beginning.
I don't even know what I was saying.
At the beginning. So if you want to roll
I would just say, like, isn't pro wrestling all about pretty much if we got everything that we ever wanted in pro wrestling, I guarantee you that none of us would be wrestling fans, because a part of us liking pro wrestling is kind of, not getting everything we want. Therefore, when it does happen, it's even bigger than what it's supposed to be. We see it in TV, movies, and pro wrestling. So why is it he has to be on Raw? Like, no, like, make him wait a little bit. SmackDown is the bigger show since it's got more viewers, but why not just hold off a little bit, show a little recap on that Monday, kind of remind people what they missed, because I'm a big fan of, like, a TV show being, hey, show them what they missed so maybe they don't miss it again, and tune in next time to kind of have something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and with all the anticipation of the whole White Rabbit thing and the fact that fans have been waiting for Bray Wyatt to return ever since he was released, I think they needed to match that with making us wait again for him to speak for the first time, right? Like, it would have been too much too soon after all that anticipation if we just got everything we wanted, like you're saying, George.
Adam, Steve.
I don't completely disagree. I just want to correct myself. SmackDown did 2.2 million, and then Raw the same week did 1.9 million. And it's
SmackDown's
the Phillies.
Always going to do more. SmackDown's always going to do more.
It's going to be the Phillies in 6. But it actually furthers my point that, 1.9 and 2.2 are the same rating. And honestly, 1.9 on the USA Network, which is in considerably less homes than Fox, is more impressive than 2.2 when you're on Fox, which is on most homes. But
plus you got Monday Night Football.
Right? Like 2.2 is very impressive for Raw, or 1.9, sorry, is very impressive for Monday Night Raw.
I guess where I was going with it, and this is just me, not dirt sheet writers or whatever, but like, it just seemed like there's been more of a concerted effort over the last 2 decades to Raw than SmackDown. And to me, that's just my vision of Raw being the flagship show. So I might be misspoken, but that's just the optics according to Woods, I guess. It's a coin of phrase.
I see what you.
But
I see what you did there.
yeah.
Well,
So
ever since SmackDown went live too, it warrants these kind of moments like this first with Bray Wyatt, right? We just didn't used to think of SmackDown as even being in the running before. Remember the big roster split and all that a few years ago? Well, more than a few now.
There was once a time where SmackDown was on the CW or my UPN, whatever it was called. Absolutely, UPN! Raw was a flagship show back in the day when like you have the guys that aren't going to be on Raw. You have kind of like the second guy, the backup guys, the NWO Hollywood guys show up on SmackDown, right? But now, like I said, more so like Christy said when they went live, but even more so when they went to Fox. I mean, a few of us were there at the first Fox show of SmackDown. Like, you're not going to see Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar on SmackDown on the CW. You didn't even see it on Raw. You saw it on SmackDown. There's a reason why. So I think for now, I like them going back and forth. Maybe in about 6 months, maybe Raw will be back to the flagship show. But as far as I know, when SmackDown's kind of delivering every week with Bray, with the honorary Usos, the best thing about SmackDown today, wrestling today, like, I feel like SmackDown is right now the big time flagship show.
Okay. I like it. So I guess the content of the promo or the context, whichever word you want to use there, I think they both apply. But what did you think of the actual promo? This is the first time that, usually in wrestling, it's hyperbole. First time ever. Oh my gosh, this has never happened. But if you're an audience, this is the first time you've seen Wyndham Rotunda or whatever speak like this, like an actual human, no hocus pocus, since maybe Husky Harris, which I still think that Porsche, the tank with the Porsche engine, was a great line. I loved it. I thought he was going to be big. I didn't think this incarnation, but what did you guys think of the actual promo?
I love the promo. Also, NXT failed Husky Harris. I think if Husky Harris had an actual NXT to come up through, we would have seen a better main roster Husky Harris, but then creatively we wouldn't have gotten anything that is Bray Wyatt. So we're ultimately better off. I think the promo's great. I think they're really dripping this story that either he's going to play two different characters or there's a different guy, because we've only ever seen the video edit mask person from here to here, and someone's going to immediately give me all the reasons how that's also Bray. But the White Rabbit or the Moth or however they're portraying his alter ego, I love that they're finding a way to tell a main event story with just Bray Wyatt not taking any bumps.
Dude, they're probably paying him so much money that they expect him to play at 2, 3, 4, 10 characters to earn his worth.
Well, I mean, we've seen the pictures. The Wyatt 6 are very much 6 different people.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have our theories.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's 6 different incarnations of him.
But I'm saying kayfabe, who's actually portraying who actually portrayed those 6 people in Philadelphia that night? All of them Bray Wyatt?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Oh,
I don't know.
Like,
you would know. Like, what's your local Philadelphia indie show that's around there?
Does Chikara still run?
Sure.
Oh no, we can't.
No, Chikara doesn't.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure it was 6. Maybe it was 5 jabronis from Philadelphia local wrestling.
No, I think they understood the culmination of this main event was too important to, like, I think similar to how, like, you could see pictures of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair being the harem for Triple H, right? When he was King of the Kings before they were anything. Like, I think they understood the importance of the people in those roles. That I'm like 80% certain one of them was Joe Gacy. And I think they're all up and coming NXT people. Also, given how cool that this story is, I would not be shocked if they were slowly trying to have the Wyatt 6 be actual wrestling competitors. I'd watch.
Yeah, and I guess an illusion. It's the word on the street is Bo Dallas, like the former Bo Dallas, whatever. He's re-signed with the company to some extent. Now he could be much like his the B team compatriot in Henning, right, as a backstage producer, or he could be one of the members, and one would allude that he could be the actual White Rabbit, which would be amazing. Because I know, much like the Cody Dustin deal, where the brothers wanted to work together or work with each other and what have you, both the Rotundas had expressed that in different ways, at least to the management. Again, reading the tea leaves and what have you. So this would be a great, if there's 6 incarnations of Wyatt that isn't Wyatt himself. Here we go.
So the Observer says, the Observer's claiming that Joe Gacy, I'll pull it over here for eyelines. They're saying that Joe Gacy was Huskus the Pig Boy, NXT's Grayson Waller was Mercy the Buzzard, Alexa Bliss was Sister Abigail, Eric Rowan was Ramblin' Rabbit, and Bo Dallas was the Fiend. Is what they're saying.
I like it, and I mean the Fiend did look kind of svelte from the last time we saw him. Maybe getting burns or the black mist will do that to you, and maybe it's a slimming effect, which I need that.
Full circle.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought it was great, and kind of in this week's news, right? Hangman Adam Page got a concussion, taking a bad lariat from. It wasn't a bad lariat, just taking a lariat in an AEW World Title match with Jon Moxley in Moxley's hometown. Some would argue that maybe this was the time for Moxley to take some time away. That's what I heard. And you guys, it's open to interpretation, but he loses the title in his hometown, get him off the road for a little bit. That's what I heard. But what did you guys think of the bump the first time you saw it? I was actually at a wrestling event, a Championship Wrestling from Hollywood event, and the homeboy Alex was like, "Did you see, like AEW tonight? Didn't look good with Paige."
So back up. You said that Paige was supposed to win the match?
That's what I heard.
From who?
People.
I
think it's easy to make that. It's easy to speculate that, right? Because we know that Jon Moxley was supposed to go on vacation before all the hoopla that he had to come in and save the show a few weeks ago. So we know that he was supposed to go. He has also said that those vacation plans, he's over it. He's accepted it. It's not happening anytime soon. So I would assume that that's just people assuming that would be a good story, and that's a good conjecture to make. However, would it have been a great story? No. And is it time for Jon Moxley to lose the title? No. I don't believe that for 1 second, but good guess.
And especially it's like he's not going to go on vacation because now his wife's there. Now he can spend time with his wife, and maybe they have a tour bus, doing the whole Seth and Becky thing. They got the bus with the baby on board, so yeah.
So about that, I mean, again, the same kind of source that I heard from, they hired, he wanted time away after his, the rehab stint and everything, even 1 day a week. And this is my question to the person who told me. It was like, they're only doing 1 day a week. I mean, 1 day with travel, whatever. It's far less tedious than the WWE schedule, which, Moxley, Jonathan Good, Dean Ambrose, it's useful.
While we're recklessly speculating what Jon Moxley wants and doesn't want, I'll point out what we do know for sure is go Phillies. Also, what we know for sure is I think it was 2 weeks ago Moxley got a very public contract extension.
Yes.
And the big headline, the big takeaway from the headline with his contract extension was he had to stop doing indie dates like GCW and likely New Japan, because a while ago he was in the G1, pre-pandemic, I should say, and then. Had the pandemic not happened, he had a lot of plans for New Japan and a couple other indie wrestling. Who's to say he was making X divided by a certain amount of dates, and now they're paying him more for the same amount of dates to buy him out from whatever he'd make at GCW or in New Japan, and it became, I can have a travel day and then a TV day, and then back out. I don't know. I think while we're speculating, I think that there could have been a lever there of you thought you needed time off because you were GCW champion and AEW champion all summer. And how about you just be AEW champion and stop working anywhere else? and that might be a vacation to him.
Yeah. Well,
To somebody who is used to previously being on the road 300 days a year,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, so I guess I saw clips of the MJF Regal promo, so I don't know where in the show that it actually happened, but
Within the show.
somebody was basically saying that Moxley had to come back out or something happened, and he mouthed to Regal like, "Oh, I got to go out again, or I got to save the show again," towards the end of the show. And I did see a clip online that we didn't get the audio. It was a fan cam perspective, so I don't know what was actually said, but it was Moxley looking begrudged, kind of mouthing off to Regal after Hangman got hurt. So I don't know if there's anything to it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry, I apologize. Wait, so what? Like it was
so basically there was a point where Regal
that was
at
the
the
main
end of the
event.
show.
That was
Right.
the main event. Yeah. So Moxley was already out there.
Right. And then Regal came out for some reason.
Regal,
he's in the back cloak, the BCC. So he's already out there.
Okay.
And they sent him out when they had 10 minutes of TV time left.
Right.
Yes,
And the match could not continue.
Also, he was on commentary, wasn't he?
Right. So
he was on commentary for the main
Right.
event because he's on commentary for any Moxley match. So that's why he was that quick. I'd like to applaud AEW for something I don't always applaud them for, which is production. They handled this very well. That if you watched this live, I'm not saying you would think it was a work, but although there are some who do, I would like to point out that them cutting to the announce table, from them they cut live to the announce table to announce the referee stoppage, and by the time they cut back to the ring, they know exactly what they're doing. And I would tell you a year ago, and I didn't think AEW would have been capable of that quick and on-the-fly production when something goes wrong. So kudos to them that they were like, okay, fill a little, go on to the next thing, which was MJF with the chip teasing a match in November.
Right. And I haven't seen this alleged clip of Moxley complaining that he has to save the show or whatever it is. I'm thinking when he's out there live on television and he's been made the world champion for a reason, that's a responsibility. And when there's 10 minutes left of the show and everything's gone awry, that's your time to stand up and show everyone why you're the champion. I don't think he's going to stand there and go, oh, now is my turn to save the show again. Maybe he's saying to Regal, how are we going to save this show or something to that effect. But I love that fans have fun speculating on that kind of thing and looking up every piece of footage and what drama can we make out of it. But I don't buy for 1 second that Jon Moxley's reaction to all of this happening was like, oh man, now I got to work more. Now I got to show my worth out here.
Right. Now, I mean, I guess we got a gem in MJF versus Regal in this kind of like verbal jousting, and MJF, to me, it was a promo of a lifetime, kind of saying how he was passed over. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a poor kind of summary, but basically, he had a tryout match as an extra and what have you. Regal, gave him the pass until he found out what his age was, which was 19 at the time, and they kind of passed him over. Regal encouraged him to send him his tapes and everything, keep working. And then after like the third kind of transmission, Regal just goes, hey, just stop right there. And then Regal goes into what he went through in his own kind of adolescence. I thought it was just amazing TV. Hopefully it wasn't because of the Hangman Page injury or what have you, but your guys' thoughts on the deal?
Sorry, I just I'm a big fan of correcting people. That promo was before the world title match, so that was in the middle of the show. So that kind of had nothing to do with the main event in some ways. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, I very captivated at what everything was said. Yeah, honestly, I'm very guilty of like being distracted by whatever it is, whether it's wrestling or whatever it is, and so sometimes I'm on my phone, whatever, doing some work, whatever. But yeah, that promo, I'm like, let me put everything down because I need to pay attention because this is pretty freaking good. I did see a little bit of detractors on the Twitter, and I think they're just kind of they're not giving it its chance because like everybody's saying like, oh, this isn't MJF as a heel. Like, I'm sorry, like, isn't I think MJF is trying to expand himself a lot more than what you see himself on TV. I think he's showing us a lot more different elements and sides to his personality that isn't just a heel that's always healing whether the camera's on or off. So yeah, I mean, I like you, I'm kudos to this promo. I thought it was an amazing segment.
And isn't one of his greatest heel moments of all time not after he cut the promo where he really showed his human side and talked about being bullied as a child and some of that stuff? And people were saying the same thing. Oh, this is a new MJF. This is him being a babyface. I'm not into it. And then it fed into the ultimate heel move, right? So I can only assume that that's where he's going with this again. I don't think that MJF could be convinced to do a face turn anytime soon. It's not who he is. It's not what's going to work for him. And whenever that does happen, it's going to be like John Cena level babyface turn news making, right? It's not just going to be something that happens on a Tuesday night on Dynamite.
Yeah. I just dig it. I don't care why it happened. I'm just glad that it happened. And especially when, you've got Kenny Omega kind of battered and bruised, maybe because of his style, maybe not, what have you, right? You've got a lot of EVPs essentially. What was that, George?
Not just battered and bruised, but also very bitten.
Oh yes, never forget. Once bitten, twice shy, as they say. Which, funny enough, not funny enough, but I guess on Ace Steel's social media pages, he was basically hawking himself as a trainer and what have you. I even saw something in the comments that were like, "Hey, first move, lock up. Second move, bite." So I don't know, but I mean, this is somebody who is Harley race trained, and in terms of his pupils and prodigies, that pretty fucking good. I mean, regardless of what you think about Punk or even Cabana, those are two world champions. Cabana was NWA champion. So just on those two people alone, I mean, Ace Steel has a knack for training, I think. No?
Yeah, but you hang out with CM Punk that much, and I think you can probably develop a similar attitude. And now that he has all this publicity, like I expect that we're going to hear a lot from him, and it's going to be annoying. And he's going to try to capitalize on what he's going to see as fame from this whole backstage debacle. Unfortunately, I don't believe he'll be going away, even though he is reportedly released.
Well, I mean, prior to his run in AEW as whatever backstage role that he had, he was fresh off of a guest spot at the WWE Performance Center, right? So it's not for naught. It's not just like, oh, because he's Punk's guy. This is far into the territory where Punk was in an acrimonious relationship with the WWE. I went to safe. Sorry. An acrimonious relationship with the WWE, and he still got a tryout. So there's that.
Yeah, that'll be the first and last time you ever see him doing anything with WWE after what has happened now. And also, those guest spots are tryouts for people to come in and be a full-time coach. So if you didn't get that position, if you weren't hired then, it's not happening, especially now.
Yeah, okay. Because there are some, I guess, tried out guest coaches and whatever that actually put that in their byline in terms of their Twitter and whatever bios that, hey, guest trainer, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge gig, and the way that they treat those people when they come in as guest trainers is like they're a big deal. So I'm not surprised by that at all. People should be proud of being asked to do that. It's major.
Oh yes, major, like the Major Brothers. No Brian Myers fans at all.
Yeah. That's going way back.
Yeah, I know. I just went there. But yeah, so I don't know, man. But also, we had while we're kind of in like this AEW NXT, weirdness or whatever, but we had AEW versus NXT redo on Tuesday night. And my goodness, I had heard that Triple H was trying to load the card of NXT to battle, what have you. Okay, go ahead, George. Let
me guess. Where did you hear that from? Dave Meltzer?
No. But
that's
also,
that's who said it.
no. It was somebody else. But also, even if it wasn't alluded to by Meltzer or anybody else, Jesus Christ, they dropped a shit ton of stars on this NXT, what have you. So, like, you can make an argument that whoever said this thing might have been right.
I'm going to disagree. I think
Okay.
that WWE knows after decades and decades of being on top and squashing all the competition, they know that they are not going to do well by looking over at the other guy. They have had tremendous momentum the last couple months, just with the news that Triple H is back in charge and creating things. The ratings for NXT have been growing, and they had a great week last week as far as ratings go. So I think it was probably more about keeping their momentum going. And maybe they did have in the back of their mind that there would be a wrestling alternative when there isn't usually, but that NXT crowd is hardcore. And the ones that they lost to AEW have already gone and been gone for a long time. So I seriously doubt that WWE was concerned or that was their motivation for the evening. I think they just want to put on a great show. Now that NXT is back, right?
I think WWE was very, very concerned about Major League Baseball. They don't not that NXT shouldn't consider AEW competition on the rare nights when they go head to head, but I guarantee you everyone involved in NXT doesn't sit around and think, how do we compete with AEW? Right. They think, how do we sit around and compete with Bill O'Reilly? How do we sit around and compete with Major League Baseball? How do we sit around and compete with
Raw and Smackdown?
Tuesday nights. I don't know what else happens on Tuesday nights.
CSI Samad,
CSI Des Moines. All of that. That sounds like a Tuesday night show.
I feel like that would be
like CSI Las Vegas, which back in my day was just CSI. That would happen on a bigger night like Thursday.
You're right. Yeah, I mean that's good. I mean,
My Big Fat Fabulous Life.
Is that one? That one does very well on basic cable. I know.
Does TLC?
I have never heard of it, but I mean,
you're
I'm waiting for the 1,000-Pound Sisters to come back. That's my reality show, non-combat sports. Oh man, Tammy and the other one.
They have to stay alive first.
Yes, 100%.
I just love how to most people there's reality and then reality competition, and then to Adam Woods there's reality and then non-combat sports reality.
Yeah, because everybody's
like, hold up. Is there a wrestler in it?
Yeah, that's usually how I do. But then I also have been getting into the cleaning lady, that's so far off my beat. Like it's off the beaten path for me and my taste. But yeah, shout out to the cleaning lady. Right on.
But so that's a non-combat sports drama.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as of they're well into 2 seasons, so nobody. I mean, there was one shit punch thrown. So I guess it would be combat sports, but they weren't gloved up, so I'll allow it, like Mills Lane said. But speaking of, like, I guess NXT talent and what have you, somebody that was a former NXT talent, a main roster call-up, and now is with AEW, Athena. Athena has this match with the, what's her name? Redhead lady. She's an independent wrestler of that.
You said it in our texts.
I know. It's Jody Threat. There we go. It entered the psyche. But Jody Threat. And she basically beat the shit out of somebody that was a threat. Like, that's what it looked like to everyone else. George Hermoza has a different take on it. So I guess let's go with George Hermoza. Like, was Athena being roughhoused?
If it was 2 guys doing it, nobody would be complaining. Okay? Like, some chicks just like to be physical. Sometimes you have 2 girls out there, and Jody Threat's a very physical kind of gal. She doesn't wrestle, like, oh, I'm gonna pull your hair and all. No, she's gonna take that beating as well. So it's like, who's to say that before the match or like, you know what, let's just lay it in each other, Like, we don't know that. And again, I don't like these speculations either.
Well, George, as a wrestler, did you see it progress? Did you see the aggression progress? Like you're saying, possibly they just decided they were going to have a rough match and go out there. But couldn't you tell as it was going on that things were changing?
Aggressive, yes. Unsafe, no. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. And coming from you who actually trains and knows what they're talking about, I'm gonna respect that.
When watching it, my first thought was, ooh, that looks really snug. And then I thought about it and I was like, imagine Braun Strowman on main event. Literally half the spots would be identical. And nobody would bat an eye. And if anything, if I were Braun Strowman, if you're an extra on main event, you probably make $100. If you're Braun Strowman, you could afford to give that extra another $100. So that you give him another $100 and an Uber home and be like, I'm gonna lay it in. Your job is to make me look like an MMA fighter. But I agree with George that it's because they're women. Our sensibilities are somehow different.
So I watched it
Well,
live.
just real quick, all the conversation I think about Thunder Rosa and that there's kind of an idea that this is going on in the women's division there doesn't help either.
I didn't see any sandbagging in this match. I saw someone give Athena their face, and then Athena really lay it into their face, and then give Athena their face again. Whereas some of the instances with Thunder Rosa you can find are someone gives Thunder Rosa their head, and then she just takes it and then does whatever. Like I would say it's not quite the same. But you're right. What I will say is, if this were on main event with Braun, there'd be a level of benefit of the doubt I'd be giving because it's the WWE, and I know that they have so much control over their matches and production. Whereas AEW Dark, I have a sneaking suspicion, I'll say, the wrestlers get to kind of just do, beyond Athena's going to work with so-and-so, no one puts any more work into anything else beyond Athena's going to work with this person, and they're going to have 2.5 minutes.
Make no mistake, Ember Moon would never have behaved that way.
Yep.
Ooh, fair enough.
And for good and for bad, Ember Moon would have never been given the autonomy to completely control her tune-up match on main event, or right. NXT Level Up or main event, like a lower tier show where you get a smaller amount of time with an unknown to showcase all of your moves. I think AEW lacks a certain level of consistency sometimes that we're probably not going to see her be stiff on Dynamite or Rampage. And this was her one time to show, like, no, I can be stiff. Whereas WWE, if you see this happen on main event, it's consistent with the character through and through. Like, oh, no. Braun Strowman's stiff. I don't know why I came to Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman's not that stiff.
No.
Like, he makes people take big bumps, but he doesn't potato people like Athena did.
Unless it was Brock, and then, Brock got his receipt.
I mean.
Yeah, 10 points.
I mean, a match with Brock, if you're Braun Strowman, a match with Brock Lesnar is like 30 to 40% shoot.
Yeah.
Like the hits are real.
100%.
Well, okay, but back to Athena, though. So even if I hadn't worked with her for a year and had this experience with her, and I was just basing my opinion on what I know about her from the press, which is going in hard on Mandy Rose in a way that sounded extremely petty and jealous. And again, experiencing that same treatment from her, the way that she spoke about Mandy Rose is the way that she spoke to me. So I consider her a petty, bothered person. I think that she probably wasn't happy that she was on Dark in the first place. She is very confident. So I could see her not being excited about that and saying, you know what, I'm going to really freaking show them. If this is the opportunity I'm going to get and this girl isn't doing what I want her to do, then she's going to get it too. That's what I know about her. And I am not surprised by this at all.
Yeah. And there was some weirdness for me, right? So I don't follow her character arc so closely, but
there isn't one.
Okay. But somebody said that she was supposed to be heel in this match. And I didn't get it, especially when the finish came and, she basically raises the hand of Jody Threat, like whatever. Like that's not a heel move.
That's a baby face. That's a Hogan.
100%. But then the fact that
I'm sorry. Please don't be mad at me, everybody. See, I wasn't really doing that. I didn't get hot in the moment.
yeah, we got to go through, like, you got to mea culpa, we got to go back through the curtain, in front of our people there,
Yeah.
but
Athena hasn't been on. She was a dark taping on the 13th, a dark taping on the 12th, which is what we're talking about, a dark taping on the 7th, and then Dynamite 158, which was October 5th, she had a 6-woman tag. That was the last time she was on, like, the main roster.
Yeah, and you know what? I wouldn't blame her for being disappointed in that. But I don't think she should show it.
no, but also,
I don't know if that was... I read that as that's what they discussed beforehand. I might have that wrong.
so there was, I watched it live. I was actually in the car, and I had it up and whatever, and I was like, ooh, and it actually reminded me of, I don't know if you guys know it, but there's a video from Memphis of a Coco Beware, like he was just Coco Ware, and he beats the ever living shit out of a jobber, like it just completely just flatlines it. When Athena started getting aggressive, that's what kind of came to me, and I was like, oh, whoa. But then when I was like, oh, it's a work, because there was a spot on the outside where Athena hits a shotgun drop kick, and Jody, like, she goes back. It looked to be shoot up until Jody was like, okay, and she smiled. And I think somebody got like a screen grab of it and posted that on the internet too, to kind of, and they were kind of echoing the sentiment that it could be a work, but I don't know.
The puppy agrees.
Well, this puts her. Yeah, he does. He's not a big Athena fan either. But this puts it's Jody, right? Jody Threat.
Yes.
This puts her in a terrible position, because whether she was expecting this from Athena or not, it looks bad, right? And people are wondering, what is she going to say and how is she going to react? And maybe she did something wrong. She's essentially a guest there in this match. I can't imagine how difficult this is for her, especially since what could really be going on here, I guess, is that she is just a fantastic seller, right? She could have just done her job really, really well that night. And now she's in this pickle.
Yeah.
If I were her, regardless of what happened, I would milk this up. And it seems to be what she's done, which is, how would I react if this were all according to plan? That's how I'm going to react. Even if it wasn't, because to your point, if this was any type of Athena going into business for herself and just taking it out on another worker, her Jody Threat coming out and specifically saying everything went according to plan makes her look like $1 billion. To be like, wow, she sold it that hard that we were all worried that Athena just legit broke her nose. She's like, no, we were working.
I'm always begging for believability. I guess we got that here, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Christy, I think somebody had said earlier that with everything that's going on with kind of like the elite and the lawsuit investigation, the stuff with Thunder Rosa and whatever, it doesn't, in terms of AEW as a whole and being a well-oiled machine, this doesn't help. To have even, like, this is how we treat our people, but then also this is how our people treat our guests, so to speak. So
you're right. It's indicative of the whole culture, and of how Athena has seen other people act. She's still new there. She's following suit. And it's just more bad press. I can't imagine what the network is thinking about all this stuff. I know we've seen some changes on Dynamite and Rampage that would reflect that the network is looking at that kind of stuff. And I think it's getting to the point now where they can't not care what's going on at Dark and, with the Athenas of the world, even if they're not on Dynamite and Rampage. And it just continues, right? It's not stopping. It's not ending.
Yeah. And Alex Ramirez says his opinion, Athena needs to get in better shape, and Thunder Rosa needs to slow down during her promos. I almost forgot Athena. Ruby and Thunder were still part of AEW. And I didn't know until she, I guess, let it be known in her social media pages that Ruby Riott or Ruby Soho has a broken nose. But I was just like, where is she, man? She came in really, really hot, with the Rancid theme song and everything like that, and it was just like under the rug swept. She went.
Mm-hmm.
I would say AEW does an incredible job of telling stories around their women's title, of which they have 2, and that's where it stops. If you're not in either title picture, you get lost in the shuffle there, and that's been consistent for a pretty long time.
It's been like
Right.
that a lot of times in WWE as well, to be fair.
You're right. I guess that is a broader trend about women's wrestling, and I also think I would argue the problem with the WWE is more so someone like Becky Lynch will get hot outside of their plan, and then they'll pivot their plan to be like, let's make her champion, instead of what I think is the smarter move, which is if Becky Lynch gets hot and Alexa Bliss is your champion, keep Alexa Bliss your champion working with other challengers, and then have Becky Lynch just work with everybody else. Like, make 2 programs instead of belting somebody. And I think that might be a booking problem.
Well, WWE has the programming TV time to do that, right? Exponentially more hours of TV time per week than AEW has. And the fact that the women are only getting 1 match per show because there's only 2 titles is a huge part of the problem.
Well, actually, there's 3. You got the Ring of Honor Women's title as well.
True.
Which
has that?
By the way,
heard shit about.
who's the champion though? Do you even remember
Mercedes
who the champion is?
Martinez.
Well, there you go.
Is
But
she?
Yeah, where's she?
Has
been?
that
Yeah.
appeared on TV?
No,
Not in a while.
Like I said, I
There was one.
do Dark and Dark Elevation and then the clips when they come out. I lost the login to somebody else's Sling account, but that's another story for another day.
I'll get you links, brother. Don't worry about it.
I've been saying for years now, and I've been saying this for a while. It's like, don't get me wrong, I love the women's division in the WWE, but it's not going to be a true women's revolution until we see. At the time, this was 3 years ago. At the time, we saw a women King of the Ring, so a Queen of the Ring, which we've seen. So kudos to that, and a match at WrestleMania that's not for a championship. Because we see matches at WrestleMania with men all the time that aren't for a title. So where's the love for the women? So until we see that, we've seen it a couple times at SummerSlam. We saw it in 2019 with Trish and Charlotte. A little bit different because it's Trish, but we did see it in 2020 with Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. That was like one of the first times really we saw a non-title women versus women, singles versus singles match. So kudos to them. But we need to see that at WrestleMania as well. So again, not just AEW, but also WWE. So just to be fair, we're not just criticizing AEW. We're also let people know that WWE also needs to show the love for the women, not just in women's championship programs.
Real life kind of got in the way of that angle too.
This is true. This is a great show. You guys deserve a platform to talk wrestling.
Build it.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Thank you, Alex. Shane Husky over on Twitch says, I feel like Athena did have people talking about AEW Dark, which a lot of people don't. Have
a great match. Tell a great story.
That's it.
That's not if indeed that was her motivation, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah,
yes, she was successful, but it's not the way to do it.
People aren't talking about, hey, Athena looked great on AEW Dark. I believe it was Dark Elevation. What they're saying is, I'm unsure if Athena was participating in a predetermined wrestling match on AEW Dark Elevation. That's a different kind of attention.
Also, and that perception is what's really going to hurt her. We all know that they got a talking to backstage afterward. That's true. That's something a bunch of people saw going down, right? So whether they planned it ahead of time or not, the audience and the people working backstage, the producers, etc., all thought that this was too much and that Athena went too far.
Yeah, which in a crowded landscape, if you're not in the title hunts, right, the TNT and Women's World Title hunt in AEW, you're kind of in the doldrums. It kind of, like, I guess Athena loses stock a little bit if everybody thinks that you got hot and you're shooting on this guest of ours.
Yeah.
You know, so, and Alex says, you believe WWE needs to bring back intergender wrestling?
Nope. Here's why I think it was okay during China's time. No offense to Sable, Ivory, Tori Wilson, or not Tori Wilson. There was a different Tori.
Tori, just Tori.
Just
Jacqueline,
regular Tori.
just regular Tori. Jacqueline, like, no offense to the women who wrestled at the same time as China, but China was on another level, which is why you had to have her fight men and be involved in storyline with men, because that was the only believable thing for China to be involved in. His point is that Charlotte Flair should be wrestling men. I disagree. I would agree if it were Charlotte Flair and a roster full of women who couldn't compare, like, even be on her level. Right now, you have two rosters full of women who are on Charlotte Flair's level. And I'd rather just see that roster fight forever.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And as far as intergender wrestling goes in general, I like it. I think a lot of people who are real wrestling fans and understand what's going on there, it's a dance back and forth between two people that is predetermined. People get it. It has no place on television where people who don't understand what's going on have to be subjected to male-female perceived violence. It just doesn't have a place on TV. It absolutely never will. And yes, those will be banger matches with Charlotte Flair, but I don't think we're ever going to see it. And you're right, we don't need it.
Yeah, there are plenty of matchups. There are plenty of matchups between the women that are already contracted to the WWE exclusively forever. Plenty of stories to tell, just women wrestling women that I don't know if Brock Lesnar versus Charlotte is a match any of us really should want to see when we could possibly see Sasha Banks versus Charlotte again.
Yeah, and if you really get off on that shit, watch the scene from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you're gross.
Yeah, so for me, the only I'm usually against the intergender, right? China was a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. You guys mentioned Jackie. Jackie, I believe it was on Nitro at Club La Villa against Hard Body Harrison. And if you read about Hard Body Harrison, it makes it even more sweet that she just beat the shit out of him. I love it. But that's believable. Outside of that, I haven't really been that guy to like the intergender stuff or whatever until I actually saw on the same episode of Dark Elevation Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, and I was never a fan of Kip Sabian. I just didn't get super bad whatever, and then this box in the face and whatever he's doing, this orchestra, he is money, like so money right now.
I think a lot of what they've been doing with him is hat on a hat.
Yeah,
I think just let the bell ring with Kip Sabian. And that's not taking anything away from Penelope Ford, who's also, I think, very similar. The second you try to do too much character with someone like that, you miss the point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's, like, they're closer to a Lance Storm, where you're like, just let the bell ring.
But
you get to have one of those where it's just, oh, he really wrestles.
But
what else does he do? He wrestles more.
But even the charisma, you know, if you're making that, you know, Kip to Lance Storm comparison, I would even, I don't know. Lance Storm, I love Lance Storm, so whatever. But also, he has, at this juncture of his career, loads more charisma in this current incarnation than Lance Storm did.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I think the level of charisma you need to do anything in professional wrestling today has gone up since the day of Lance Storm.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not to say Lance Storm doesn't or didn't have charisma. I'm just saying, like, it's pretty well known that, like, he's a bell-to-bell by the book wrestler, and I think he worked in the WWE for as well and as long as he did, specifically because there were so few of just, no, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to wrestle. I'm not going to carry. I'm not going to cut a promo. I'm not going to carry a giant scale. I'm not going to be a literal clown. I'm just going to wrestle.
And if what you were getting at is intergender matches when there's a tag situation, male and female competitor on each side, that can absolutely work. Right. And there's a way of telling that story where it's still believable, where it's not just, oh, the woman has to get in with the woman and the man has to get in with the man. I like those because it is hard to do that, and they have to kind of work and really tell a story. And I think Kip Sabian and Penelope not only have tons of years of experience doing that together, but just what we know about them outside the ring kind of supports what we think they would do in an intergender match, right? So I like that idea.
What is
Also,
the
I think-
outside of the ring?
They're very real. They're authentic in their character
Okay.
work, right? That's what you guys are talking about.
Yes.
Because you don't do much with them. It's authentic. That's really them. And
100%.
that's probably really what they do as a couple, right? They go out and provoke people and then kick ass.
You talk about Sammy and Tay, right? I missed the name, but I can
no, I
understand
was
you're
talking
Sammy
about
and Tay.
Penelope. I was talking about Penelope and Kip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But Sammy and Tay have done some great intergender stuff as well, especially at is it Triple A? Is that
Triple
right?
A. Just say Triple A. Say the same as the insurance company.
Triple A.
Some-
There we go. How about that?
There's a guy out of Alabama who's trying to get it over, and get it over is Tripla.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm gonna start it and stop it. I want to
I'm
point
a
out
Conrad guy.
when Alex Ramirez asks intergender, I believe he means specifically Charlotte Flair versus Seth Rollins, which would be a banger, by the way.
Right.
I don't think that has a place in mainstream wrestling. Just guy versus girl, like unless it's a very specific circumstance, like it was with China. But I should mention mixed tag matches. I don't think we see enough mixed tag matches. I think the fact that
WWE
Becky
had
Lynch
that
is
whole
Seth
series
Rollins'
for a while.
Yeah. Mixed
wife
match.
should be incorporated more. Like Ms. Maurice versus Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch. That's money. Nick Aldis and Mickie James versus Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. That's money. I know it's not the WWE, but like there are a lot of power couples in pro wrestling. I don't think we see enough mixed tag match. Karen and Jeff Jarrett versus whoever you want. Like I think there isn't enough of that in pro wrestling.
I mean, geez. I mean,
I think Sammy and Tay could use an ass kicking from Jeff
Right?
and Karen.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, 100%. Like,
Put them in their place.
Give me. You can build the rest of the card. Give me. Just book it, and I'll figure out the story and everything else. If you could have Karen Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett versus Nick Aldis and Mickie James, I could get you $1 million gate. I will lay that challenge down right now. I've never promoted anything in my life. And I know that matchup up top would be so good that as long as we had a cohesive story heading into it, we could make it work. $1 million gate.
Okay. I like it.
Nobody with money watch this.
All right.
It
I
feels
guess.
like I'm just realizing how much work went into that Ric Flair show that I'm like, oh God, do you really want to be that guy, Steve?
Yeah. No. Nobody wants to do that other than some guy who wants to get over Tripla, right?
Last I talked to him, he doesn't want to do it again.
Okay. Right on. All right. 10 points there. No, I mean, and Shane actually says Lucha Underground has some of the best intergender matches.
Yes.
To me, I mean, this might be unpopular, but Lucha Underground for me peaked at the Penta Vampiros, the culmination of that storyline, and then I was out. Like I watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes after it during its Netflix run, and I was out. Because to me,
That was season
Ken
3,
Arena
correct?
involved in
was
that?
it season 3?
He became champion at the end of season 3. So this is before that?
This is before that,
Okay.
where basically, I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling it. It's been years now, but basically, Penta was talking about the evil force and what have you. Vampiro's on commentary with Stryker, blah 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 blah. Whatever. And then this, I love it. I didn't even know. I had no idea. But basically, Penta
Okay.
Penta basically has this match with Vampiro. It's this fucking blood. They both bleed buckets and whatever the hell. And then it turns out that the higher power is actually Vampiro, and he was putting Penta through the motions. And also, not just with Lucha Underground. To me, Penta peaked. He peaked there. And imagine, he had a world title run, not just in Lucha, but also in Impact. And now he's with his brother. Whatever.
I should clarify. He peaked as a singles performer in Lucha Underground.
Is he not doing?
No, I think he's peaking now as a tag team performer in AEW.
100%.
But I'm gonna do also Husky 581 end of season 1.
End of season 1.
And I should point out I may or may not have spoiled season 3 of Lucha Underground a year and a half before it came out in an interview with
think
Penta.
Husky's seen it. That's right. Oh my God, I remember when that
what
happened.
My name was mud in so many circles for so long. Comic-Con, I'd be guessing at the year. I'm going to say 2016, maybe. No, yes, Comic-Con 2016. I get to interview Penta. I hadn't seen all of Lucha Underground then, but I knew who Penta was
Because it hadn't aired. It wasn't even your fault, right?
Well, I think season 1 was available. Season 2, I believe the finale had aired the night before I had recorded with Penta. And if you just type in Penta and go to his Wikipedia page, the second sentence was, is current Lucha Underground world champion. Now, I happen to know that Lucha Underground taped season 2 and season 3 concurrently. But it was the second link in his Wikipedia. I click through, and I don't know, the way it was listed on Wikipedia that day, I was under the impression that on TV, he had won the world title the night before I was talking to him. And then, so one of my questions was just, congratulations on becoming Lucha Underground world champion. What do you think is next for you in pro wrestling? Which I think was a very good question. Mm-hmm. Of just what do you think is next? And without getting at is there a season 4? I know Mark Burnett's contracts are real crazy and there's a lot of headlines coming out about that. He wasn't going to talk about all that because, by the way, he had a translator. So I say it, and then a translator says it to him. I learned years upon years later he speaks perfect English. This was all a ruse. And what winds up happening is the translator tells him, and then he just gives a good answer of what's next for him, where he's going to go, what he's going to do, and then that's the interview. And the interview, by the way, was very in kayfabe, which it was very in kayfabe, and then in kayfabe of Lucha Underground. So I didn't specifically have a great interview because I wasn't super fluent in Lucha Underground, and even if I was, it would be like interviewing Tony Soprano, not James Gandolfini. I don't think you're supposed to be good at that. It was really challenging. But my God, every comment and my mentions every day for a year and a half until season 3 finally completed was I can't believe Steve Kaufmann spoiled season 3 of Lucha Underground for me.
I actually heard that's the reason why it got canceled.
I canceled Lucha. I got Lucha Underground canceled.
Yep.
I don't know.
You're the one. You are to blame, Steve Kaufmann.
I'm wondering if that was.
It's on another Wikipedia page somewhere.
Is it? Is that while I was on the full screen? Is that what you're doing?
It's on your Wikipedia, actually. Yes.
Shit.
It is now.
There you go.
I feel like Lucha Underground getting canceled was a net good for the pro wrestling industry, so I guess I'll take it.
Okay.
I like it.
Because I don't think season 4 would have been better than season 2 or 3. And I've told this story to multiple people in and out of the pro wrestling business, but with some level of detachment. And all of them, their first question is, who the fuck tapes 2 seasons of professional wrestling in a weekend?
Right.
That's not on you. Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was in the middle of the pandemic, AEW taped every other week.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, Lucha Underground was nope, we got the warehouse for 10 days. Millions of people are going to watch an internationally broadcast wrestling show. However, we have to shoot 2 seasons in 15 days.
There we go.
I never understood that.
That's one way to do it. And also, Steve,
that's what Mark Burnett was used to.
Yeah, right.
You're not wrong, actually.
Yeah, 100%. And also, Steve, are you related to Steve the Pirate?
Who's that?
I'm sure there's a very famous Steve the Pirate that might have lineage in 1830s Germany, which is where my lineage to Europe is. If you're talking about Steve the fictional Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball, no, I'm not related to him.
Okay, right on.
It's a double-edged answer, McMac. Resident shitster,
McMac.
Yeah.
Shout out to McMac. And also, couldn't be McMac in the comments if not for a joke. Guys, what 3-letter word starts with gas?
I get it now, but when I read it the first time, I had to think about it.
Isn't it ass? No? Did I do it wrong?
Gas. It's gas.
Gas.
That's the whole-
Gasoline or
No, that's the whole.
Okay.
It's a 3-letter word.
Okay.
What 3-letter word starts with these 3 letters?
Yeah, and it's the same. Right.
It can't.
Yeah, it's a double.
It's a
Got
locked.
it.
It's
Right
a,
on.
it's
You got us, Mick. You got us.
Yeah.
in
10 points.
time travel they call that they call that a closed loop.
Okay, I like it. All right, good.
You go back to you come from you go back to 1955 and then you wind up back exactly where you were in 1985. It's a closed loop. The first part of the sentence ends at the second part of the sentence.
Fuck yes. That's
Because if time travel ever exists, it always did.
fuck.
Yep.
I
See?
mean, wow.
That's the
Look
closed
at-
loop.
Look at this.
Well, it's
Got the brain trust here.
it
Jesus
actually
Christ.
gets pretty deep when it actually gets theological pretty fast when you talk about time travel, because if you believe in closed loops, you're actually talking about space-time, and you're talking that everything that's going to happen, it's already happening and you don't actually have free will. If you were always going to go back to 1955 and then always going to come back to 1985 and that was going to be your loop, there is no free will. The universe exists, and everything that anyone has ever done and is going to do has already been decided. You feel kind of small when you think of it if that's the case.
Is that
Well,
simulation?
let's add to that the scientific fact that time is not linear.
Yes.
And then you can feel big again.
A little bit. Yeah. Well, the fact that disproves the idea that the universe is actually an infinite loop, a series of infinite loops, and you are in complete control.
See, is that fucking gif of the Nickelback and the photograph, and it's him showing the thing, and it just loops like that, or the fuck face with her going, and then
Yeah.
it just loops together?
No, but it's
Okay.
some people, I don't know, and I'm not even going to get into the simulation theory.
Oh, that's what I thought you were alluding to. That
No,
was like a
the
measuring
simulation
ground.
theory is completely separate to what we're talking about.
Holy
What
Garbage.
we're talking about assumes we exist in an actual universe of which we are real. The simulation theory suggests that if you could simulate humanity, it is improbable that you are the prime humanity. Because
And just judging on how much technology has already advanced, if it continues at that speed, it is possible to create a world like we have a simulation. And so the assumption is just that must be what must have happened.
Yeah. Well, that the second a simulation is possible means I said I wasn't going to get into simulation theory, and here we are.
Fuck yes, go.
The second a simulation becomes possible, it becomes improbable that you don't live in a simulation.
Right.
That's the simulation theory in a nutshell. Is you either believe we've already accomplished simulation, at which point it is mathematically certain that you're in the Matrix. Like, that if you exist as a sentient being, you're actually just a computer program living in the simulation. Because if
And we
there
all
are
think
a million...
Elon Musk is so smart, but this is what he sits around talking about. He said he actually doesn't get that much other stuff done because he'll sit around with people and get into this conversation and just talk about how it's all a simulation anyway.
He's lying. He gets plenty of stuff done.
Yeah, he's what, 4 fucking billion-dollar companies or something at once? Jesus Christ, I don't know.
He hires really good people to get stuff done for him so he can smoke weed with Joe Rogan and talk about this shit.
That's what I want to believe. Oh, I mean,
The millionaires are the grinders. The billionaires are the whatever.
Kylie, Kim, those
I
hoes.
guess. Oh, they've been on the news, especially with the Yeezy guy. Ugh, it gets all weird. But I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. I did pop. Rick Rubin was on Rogan's podcast, and he mentioned being the benefactor of Smoky Mountain and brings Jim Cornette up by name. And a lot of people hadn't known that part of it. You know, I think Cornette has talked about it out loud, but I was just like, here's my wrestling world, my music world, and my MMA world all mushed together. And that's why I don't fucking watch anything else, Steve Kaufmann.
I wasn't hating. I was just pointing out that
No,
that's abnormal to the average viewer.
That's it. I beyond combat sports, I go deep dives in like the people who play with the people that I like in terms of musical acumen. That's why I just met Leland Sklar, the bass player for like Phil Collins and Bee Gees and shit like that. That's all the music I like. So I go deep dives there. But aside from that, fucking invalid. I swear to God, I don't know how I have a wife. Kids the other way. I swear. Yeah. So
They were just part of the simulation, Adam.
Yo, I want to believe I'm Marty McFly. Jesus Christ, me and Kushida. I feel like. I think that. How do you guys feel about this? Yeah, I think we have
this was
it out.
fun. It always is.
I think this is an
Did you
excellent
guys talk about
transition
the
to
Adam Page?
Okay. Do you want to? Okay, let's go with Adam Page.
Oh no, Steve was kind of about the production of it. I just think that a lot of people are kind of putting that in the category of like, see, AEW doesn't train guys. I'm like, dude, that's a freak accident. Like that's something that like if there are two guys that if somebody were to get hurt, it's not because of recklessness, it's because of Moxley and Adam Page. So just wanted to throw it out there. I think that has nothing to do with the other botches that we see on a regular basis with a lot of the other talent.
People forget that this stuff is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because wrestlers make it look so good, because they are so well trained, because they are professionals, because of the stuff that they can pull off. We forget that they're hitting someone. You know what I mean? That the possibility of what happened to Adam Page could happen at any second, in any match, anywhere, anytime, with any performer of any age and any level of experience. This is dangerous stuff.
Right. So my kind of take on it, and I didn't know I felt this way about it. So I will say, like, I'm a proponent of AEW in terms of concept and everything, as is NWA, as is any other wrestling promotion, because there can't be a monopoly on, you know, the things you like, right? You know, I think there's I think Kroger and like Vaughn's or something, they're going to merge soon. I don't like that. Just fucking break it up. It becomes a monopoly. But it's just weird to me that AEW isn't like growing their audience, and then all of these freak accidents happening. You guys mentioned, you know, Tay and Sammy. Sammy is like the fucking, like, when we weren't talking about this Page injury, we were like, Sammy keeps fucking up. The Matt Hardy deal. There's like 8 instances where Sammy Guevara has been the culprit of somebody getting fucked up, and I'm like,
also Tainara is the one who broke Ruby's nose. You guys. I wasn't sure if you guys knew that when we talked about that before.
So there you go. So for me, like Kenny Omega being like battered and bruised and everything, I think it's the style. And even if it's not the AEW kind of conjured style, it's the style that was kind of surrogate into AEW because of who the EVPs were. And again, you know, Cody looks like the smartest person alive by jumping ship before he breaks his neck, because everybody else is fucking breaking their neck. I mean, that's my take.
I want to point out broadly what I think is dangerous about the AEW style. And it's not a lot of what you're talking about. What I do think is an issue with the AEW style is they do pay-per-view level matches every week on television.
Yes, there's a lot of risk-taking.
Funny enough, we're talking a lot of shit about this Athena match. This Athena match was 2.5 minutes. She wins clean. Mm-hmm. More matches on national TV should be somebody you've heard of goes up against somebody you haven't heard of. They win in 3 minutes, and they get to show off all their moves, and then they cut a promo after talking about how you should spend your hard-earned money to see an actual wrestling match. Like, not an actual wrestling match, but like an actual pay-per-view level match. And I do think we miss a lot of that becoming a television show, that if everything you're describing falls under the umbrella that we have to push the envelope every week on television, which, and I was explaining this to someone earlier today, if you go to youtube.com/AEW right now, I guarantee you the top viewed videos of the last 20 videos will be talking segments. I get and if a match is there, I guarantee you it's a replay of a pay-per-view match. What will actually move the needle week to week is a really good promo, not a really good match. The really good promo sells the really good match, and I do think AEW has lost sight of that in favor of putting together something that's 6 stars on Rampage so that they can get 100,000 more people to watch Rampage.
Didn't Tony Khan say like the fans just want to see a great match?
Yep.
Yeah.
It is philosophically that's where he is. And like
That's a problem.
I don't own a wrestling company and he does, so
Right.
that's what his show's gonna look like.
All you have to do is have your dad, own.
I was gonna say, blame your parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have two seemingly successful football franchises on each side of the seaboard. That's all you have to do, Steve Kaufmann.
That's not where the money came from. That's where they spent it.
Oh,
I believe he insured. No, that's I believe he insured shipping. I'll Google where the Khan family money comes from.
Okay.
I don't need to say the wrong thing.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, so again, I like AEW as a concept, but I mean,
Me too.
it's weird to me that like Regal and MJF exist in the same plane, and then same thing with the AEW. I mean, the WWE side of things, where Bray is the guy that is, causing a ruckus. Prior to this Hangman Page injury, it dominated the news cycle for 6 weeks leading up to Extreme Rules, and then the subsequent week after. Again, no bump taken on Bray's part, and you can get the same whatever. A good match, like you can go down to an indie, like a well-reputable indie or an NWA or whatever. Good matches aren't that hard to find in 2022, and that's amazing to say. But also, the injury, kind of quota is way up. So I don't know what's going on.
It's something worth noting. That said, I think you brought up at the very in the pre-show that you thought the Adam Cole. I'm sorry, there are too many Adams in this. I need to be sure. Sorry, I messed it up. The Adam Page injury is indicative of this problem, whereas this particular spot was a very safe spot, and it was just if he ran that spot 1,000 times, 10 of those times, what we saw happen would happen. But the main event, the AEW style, as we'll call it, is definitely a lot more of that spot on TV every week, and that might be the problem.
Yeah,
but we're talking about it a lot, but the people who could fix it don't think it's a problem.
No, and again, what are the people at Warner Discovery thinking about? You've got people getting hurt. Okay,
they're not seeing it that way.
Okay, that's awesome.
Well, the ratings aren't growing either. The audience is not growing. It's not a banger every week. I mean, that's the kind of stuff they're concerned with, and that's a big concern.
But I do think, I don't know if they were sold on growth, because I'm not in on that meeting, and AEW is not a publicly traded company. I think at this point, we're more than 3 years into AEW on on a Turner network, on an HBO, Warner, AOL, Costco network. Throw one that's not it's on one of those networks and hasn't grown beyond about 1.2 million in a night. That said, I think if you could guarantee them 800 to 1.2 million, 52 nights out of 365, they could divide that by how much they spend versus how much ad revenue they make, and then divide that. I think there's a formula that they're very AEW or Turner is very comfortable keeping AEW on the show. That it's us who's talking about whether or not AEW actually grew in the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't be shocked, because I don't know all the details, but I wouldn't be shocked if a really high level syndicated show like Friends. I wouldn't be shocked if a Friends rerun per episode, or I guess per year, the rights fees for TBS to air Friends reruns, I wouldn't be shocked if that number is on par with how much AEW makes for first run live sports content. And I think that's all Warner sees. But I don't know, because nobody knows.
No, nobody knows.
And we're too accustomed to knowing, because prior to AEW, we've only dealt with a publicly traded company.
Right, where they had to disclose.
That we had to know.
Right. A few times a year, theoretically speaking. Right? Every quarter, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I feel like if stuff doesn't change. I mean, we're this for a company that's only 3 years old, right? And it's into the pop culture lexicon it goes, man, like right from the jump, which is amazing. But also some of it, at least from my optics, was about people being so disillusioned with the WWE product that like just anything, because the same kind of sentiment happened with Impact and I think even like WWA back in the day, like pre-Impact or whatever, that Australian Mick McManus or whatever. Like people were like kind of into it until like it just went belly up because of some shady dealings there, but that's another story for another day. But it was just like anything but the WWE, right? And then
YouTube.com/myworld with Jeff Jarrett. He tells the whole story.
There you go.
I'll make a nickel. I'll make a nickel if you watch it.
There you go. 10 points.
Whole nickel.
Whole nickel.
That's 5 points.
Whole nickel. Minus 5 stars. No. So I mean, to me, that's where AEW is kind of like, that was the seed that grew the AEW. And what's funny? Have you guys watched The Toy with Richard Pryor?
No.
Never seen it?
Is it a film?
I'm familiar
wasn't even
with
aware
it.
that he was an actor.
Yeah,
was just a
it's
comedian.
a film. Oh, and some of the like Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder stuff, like Hear No Evil, See No Evil. That's like a great movie, one of my favorites. But The Toy, it was basically Richard Pryor is a guy down on his luck or whatever. This rich kid comes into a toy store where Richard Pryor is actually working as a janitor, and the dad, who's Jackie Gleason, who is like, have anything you want, and the boy goes, him, and it's Richard Pryor, and Richard Pryor becomes this kid's toy.
Oh, geez.
Right, and you can't make this movie today, but
like life
maybe
size,
life
size with Lindsay Lohan and Tyra Banks.
No, not quite. They literally just paid. Wait, I don't think I've seen that, so I can't speak.
Tyra Banks is a Barbie and she comes to life.
No.
Oh, okay, not like this. No.
Different.
Richard Pryor was just a dude. I know the synopsis. Yeah. So another way to explain what happened is a rich white child purchased a black man. That's why this movie will never get made again. He purchased an indentured servant, which is bad enough, but worse yet, that indentured servant was not another white person. Like that. Yeah. I would argue
comedy.
A little bit. Also, like I kind of need to watch it now to know if it otherwise holds up beyond what would be considered an insensitive premise.
Well, where you can watch The Toy?
Where?
Pluto
right
TV.
Now. Also, HBO Max.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Which is amazing because they've got 2 toys. Again, you've got Master Bates, and that's the kid's name, Master Bates, and Richard Pryor. And then in AEW, you've got Tony Khan and everybody that is AEW. That's kind of it. So I know I said that can't happen today, but it actually is in wrestling.
82. This feels unacceptable for 82. I'm just going to say.
I mean, we already know about Richard Pryor basically freebasing and burning himself by 82. So, 82. The 80s are a wild time.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
I'm going to have to watch this.
Please do. We can't do a watch along. That'd be great, but no, you can't. You can't. We're just saving everybody's career involved.
$47 million box office on a $17 million budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is post-Black.
So it must say something. There must be some kind of a message.
It's a classic. I mean, there was a time when I would go to like the Babysitters, whatever. Sometimes Back to the Future would be on, and then sometimes like The Toy would be on, and whatever. Like that, in certain circles, that movie was like played and whatever, and people would recite lines out of that movie and whatever, or recall a spot where Richard Pryor encounters a piranha. So that's my recommendation, and don't hold me to it because there's some not 2022 things in there, but it's a good movie.
If you adjust that for inflation, which by the way, 207% inflation, that makes it $144 million gate.
Wow.
I'm just gonna pull up. Sorry, y'all. Numbers guy here. You just mentioned. So if you go to Box Office Mojo and you look at the top films this year, how much did they make? So worldwide 2022. Top Gun Maverick. Okay, so it's billions. Let's go down to 140. The Black Phone did 159. Smile 141. Scream 140. Death on the Nile. Crawdad. I'm trying to look for a comedy.
Death on the Nile.
I'm trying to look for a straight up comedy that did. Okay, Jackass Forever did 80 million. The Toy, adjusted for inflation, The Toy with Richard Pryor did better than Jackass Forever.
Which, I mean,
Wow.
and I'm a fan of both, but I could see,
Yeah.
whatever. This one,
Sorry,
Jackass Forever is taking the pin here.
Also, welcome to my brain for a moment, guys. Where I'm told I see the box office on a movie I never heard of, and I'm immediately let's adjust that for inflation and look for comps for the year that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Where my mind went was like, isn't his family fighting over his money still to this day?
Richard Pryor,
And
yes.
they are.
Possibly, yeah, 100%.
They are.
Oh, it's there's one of the episodes of the Comedy Store documentary that's on Showtime. There's a specific episode. I think it's either 2 or 3 and it's almost solely dedicated to Richard Pryor. And there is a bit, and I'm not going to give away the bit. I'm not talented enough or whatever, but the lasting bit of that episode that Richard Pryor tells about mortality and whatever, probably one of the greatest bits I've ever seen. And when you put it into context, Richard Pryor was already deep into his physical and health issues. And for him to nail that line, motherfuck, one of the greatest who ever lived. I'm just saying.
Also, I want to point out 5 wives and 7 children is why there's a battle over his estate, not because there's anything particularly up with his estate.
Yeah, I think
there are 12 people who can claim his estate. Is George? I love how George sent us on this path. We were about to wrap up.
Yeah,
and then he 616 said he was still here.
He was still here. Yeah.
Do you see his okay?
Yeah, I saw it after the fact. I was like, where did he go? Yeah. But Steve Tatum says, hey, party people, good to see the fam tonight. Especially Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Steven.
Yes.
Yay, I'm so happy that everyone's joined us live. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But you guys have stuff, so we're gonna go with Steve. What do you got going?
What do I got going I can talk about? You can go to Steve. You can go to stevekaufmann.com. It's spelled Kaufmann. That's going to be a link tree of all my work. Trying to think. I just recorded the Montreal Screwjob episode with Road Dogg on the Oh You Didn't Know podcast. That's going to air, obviously, a lot later than now. But he goes in on Bret Hart, like, philosophically. In a way that's, like, as people, they're fine. But, like, the way Bret Hart sees wrestling is completely different from the way the Road Dogg sees wrestling. And through the little private chat while I was producing the show, I was able to kind of nudge that conversation along a little in a way that I think you're all really going to enjoy. So, yeah, you asked me to plug something, and I plugged an episode 5 weeks ahead. 5 weeks ahead of time. So I guess I'll find a way to clip this.
And I didn't think that there were any ways to do the Montreal Screwjob. I thought all the angles had been examined.
It's all been said.
Yeah.
But did you talk to all the people in match 1, though?
No, apparently not.
We've only heard from Road Dogg. We haven't heard from Billy Gunn. We haven't heard from either of the Godwins. We haven't heard from Mosh or Thrasher. JB Bradshaw might have talked about it. And then Wyndham? I think it was Barry Windham also in match 1 of Survivor Series 97. I'm not a savant. Yeah. I literally just talked about it today.
Wow. That's amazing. Ooh. Okay, cool.
I'm a savant.
George, yes,
you are a savant.
So plug your stuff, bud.
Oh, it's my turn. Oh, cool. Just in time. Hi. You can follow me at Hermoza, GHERMOZA. You can follow my wrestling channel, The Wrestling Chatter, youtube.com/The Wrestling Chatter. I have some ideas that I'm gonna bounce off you guys once we're off this call. But yeah, like I said, I'm excited to kind of see what the next step. I want to do more than just interviews. Obviously, I'll do the old card park opening very soon. As soon as I get a nice little black cloth, or maybe like a black cloth with the logo on it, But yeah, I'm excited to show you guys.
We're excited too. And as far as me, I'm According to Woods. And if you're watching this, chances are you follow me and subscribed and whatever. And I thank you wholeheartedly for doing so. So I'm going to, like we do on After 83 Weeks, we're going to close with Christy. Christy, what you got?
Well, thank you so much. I can talk about everything I'm doing. So I don't know what that says about me, but I would really appreciate if you guys would follow me on TikTok. And I have 2 YouTube channels. The one that's got some great wrestling stuff is brand new. So much good content over there. It's Christy Reports PW. And yeah, some stuff we just talked about. Bret Hart and his pettiness, shall we say. I just made a video about today, and also women who have held men's titles, which goes along with what we were talking about earlier as far as intergender matches and women who could kick ass, and China in that Good Housekeeping match against Jeff Jarrett in 1999. If you want to hear about it, follow me over on TikTok. I appreciate it. And this was so much fun. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'll come over and hang out on the According to Woods channel anytime.
Oh, thank you guys. And again, thank all 3 of you for joining us here. This is our usually time spot, but we missed each other and there was a lot going on. So thank you all for joining us here. And like Christy said, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to all of their stuff, but also this guy right here. And if you don't believe any of us, we're all subscribed, because I even have a backup account where I subscribe to my own self, because that's not nepotism at all. But if you don't believe any of us, here's Zeta Zhang for you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to